Let's see if they can bounce back, though, is the big thing as we're ready for picks and bans here between CryptiK and Sanguine. Sanguine now in that first pick slot. And now, Sanguine, I would love to be in first pick from this position, because now I'm telling CryptiK, okay, cool, you either give us Merlin or Freya, because we want one of those. And CryptiK has to make the choice unless they ban both of those away. But in that case, they give up Jormungandr or Xbalanque or something else. I mean, Sanguine's just in a priority position here, I think.
Banning away the Achilles, so at least the Merlin or the Freya will go through, or maybe even first picking the Bellona, depending on what Sanguine really wants to do with their draft. So Team CryptiK have to figure out a way to gain some sort of an advantage in picks and bans, having second pick, maybe get Cope with a comfortable counter matchup up against Jarcorrr.
Yeah, that's got to be something, man. I mean, they banned the Merlin. I feel like they kind of have to with how well Sheento usually plays for this team. And Sanguine's absolutely snap blocking Freya here, right? I mean, I can't imagine. Maybe Bellona first pick. I mean, clearly that's a priority pick for them. But yeah, I mean, the man just quadra killed them. I mean, give him the pick. He did 10,000 more damage than anybody else in the game, basically. Give him the pick, and Sanguine do it.
I think that CryptiK have to lock in the Bellona because of the Scourge to deal with Freya in the late game. You are able to disarm her, prevent a lot of that damage per second. I love the Naja pick, a great flexibility pick in terms of support or jungle.
Naja, the selection here for CryptiK. And then Jing Wei, so Diesel really wanting to make sure that he's as safe as possible. This tells me that CryptiK just doesn't want anything right now. I mean, this is what you're definitely picking against Freya every time, because Banish lets you agility later on, but it's not something you needed right this moment. Sanguine, go AMC, and then this means Fafnir is the next pick, right? I mean, that's kind of your first three, if you want them, is the way that you want to go. I imagine with how well Ronngyu just played and these first three selections, Fafnir is kind of a no-brainer, but instead they go for the Terra for a little bit more control.
Terra's not too bad of a pick, but surprised not to see the Fafnir run back, right? Going 0-1-22, a great look on Ronngyu. He likes to play aggressive, but this time it's going to be probably against a Naja support from Mineral. If you're looking for ways to shut down a Freya in the dual lane, you need to put an aggressive assassin there. Naja can certainly do it. You're going to need to fight fire with fire. Terra has good control. Fafnir, not so much.
Sops says, yo, can I get one of those? Can I get that Poseidon that just did really well against us last game? And they lock it in for themselves. We'll see if he's able to farm as effectively as Sheento was in Game 1. Certainly a high bar to try and pass, as both teams taking their eye towards the jungle. Bakasura by CryptiK, and then the Robin as well, which hits both solo and jungle. We've seen a lot of success from solo Robin recently. And then Ratatoskr, the first ban in the second ban phase by Sanguine. I imagine they're going to look at another jungler, and it will be the Serket that Zearoe just played. Especially, I mean, it wasn't an inspiring performance from Zearoe, but when someone role swaps like this, you just want to see what else they have in the God pool, right? You gotta make them expand a bit.
It seems that they're setting up for the future with this role swap. I don't know if it's going to be for the rest of the split or maybe in the future season to see how these two can mesh between that jungle solo synergy. But thus far, with the Hunbats, this great team fighting from CryptiK.
Yeah, Sanguine now with 2 picks left to go in their draft, and I've already got a pick cooking here for Cope if it ends up being a pretty good one. And Bellona is a selection again for Jarcorrr in that solo lane. He played it very, very well in that last game, so may as well go back to it. We're kind of waiting on which jungler we'll see from Panitom. Arachne still on the board, and that's where he's going to go. This is the
Hades.
Ymir.
No, Hades.
No, you go Ymir here. I mean, that's the Cope solo special.
Sure.
He played a ton of Ymir. It's great against AMC Freya Terra. Arachne and Bellona can get over your wall, but they have to ult to do it.
You got the Whirlpool Cripple with a Hades ultimate. What more
would
can
be
you
good.
want?
That would be good too. I think either one might be pretty decent. Though I know that Cope has one of those picks in the pocket. I don't know about the Hades, but it looks like they're going to use Naja in the solo lane. To me,
what if it's Hunbat solo?
Could be. Wolfie 2032 used to do it quite a bit back in the day, but that was back in the day. This is now. Right now, we've got Game 2 between Sanguine and CryptiK. Sanguine looking to sweep the 3rd seed 2-0. We've got Finch and FDOT on the call.
An important set here for Team CryptiK if they can grab this win and try and close in on Sanguine in the standings. But right now, it looks like a difficult task. Sanguine up 1-0. And where exactly are some of these picks going? Remember, CryptiK's already doing things kind of different, you know, and Zearoe and Cope were in different spots from where we normally see them. So clearly trying to figure something out.
Yeah, I think that's dumb. I think that's just the wrong choice. This is one of the bigger games of the season. This is one of the bigger games that they've played, and they're going to role swap now? It just seems a little bit too little, too late. The Najah solo, I'm a fan of. I think that Najah does things as an offensive character, as a defensive character. The draft, well and good. The play, well and good. Zearoe looked strong. Cope did the job. But I don't know if it was better than what we've seen from them in the past, and if it was, I don't know by how much. It's just, I think this is a very interesting spot. Everybody's vying for a space at the mid-season invitational, and this is when you're going to get a little creative and crafty. I don't know about the decision making, and if it doesn't wind up with 2 more games in their direction, I think I'll call it a mistake.
It could certainly end up costing them. And then where do they make the ground up, right, if they end up dropping it here? I mean, I just don't think there's anywhere where they can. So they had to have believed this is what would give them their best opportunity.
Exactly.
As you said, it is the Najah in the solo lane here. So not, though, the Wolfie 2032 special of the Batz over there instead. It'll be for Zearoe. He can bring in that big Fear No Evil ultimate. We've seen controlling junglers make a big statement today. We saw Susano do it earlier with his ultimates. Something that Batz can do just as well if they can play around that cooldown correctly.
It's been the aggressive junglers that have really been doing it. We've seen a lot of like Panitom on the Spider, and then the Susano with a little bit of both. But it's been the carry junglers, the aggressive ones, the ones that are always in the enemy side of the map that have been successful. Batz not exactly that type of character, but Najah is. So maybe the combination of this jungle solo side might have something to say. Like I said, I have a very open mind, and part of me whenever I see a team do things like this is low-key rooting. I kind of want to see this pay off. I'm certainly not rooting against them, but there's a lot of interesting decisions right now.
That's true. Of the way that all of us address things when they're very different, you often come to them with the most open mentality and even leading towards rooting. I 100% agree at times. So hopefully this can work out for them if you are a fan of Team CryptiK. Sanguine fans out there, though, hoping that this blows up in their faces, I imagine. Hoping that Sanguine can bring this one home and they can kind of represent for that LATAM region. They're sort of that last bastion that's coming out of here and showing that they can compete here in the SML and still look strong. If they can find this win, they can even potentially come to LAN and represent there.
Be a big deal, too.
I like the idea.
Cope off the mark there. I thought we were going to see it hit and maybe a little bit of a fight. You see a fight nonetheless. Jarcorrr just controlling Cope underneath the tower, as would be expected for this moment of the game.
That's a good point. You could probably say Bellona's controlling X, and X just be the other god. She can be so tough to deal with sometimes in lane, as Cope forced to back here early. They don't give Jarcorrr a chance to clean up this lane before looking for their next push. Last game we talked about how sops had a really tough time up against Sheento's Poseidon, and how when the Poseidon got late, those relics could be saved for him, particularly the Aegis. I wonder if maybe pairing it with this Batz puts a little bit extra strain on there. I know you want beads for the Batz and Aegis for the Kraken, but I mean, if you're in a moment where you feel like you're under too much duress, or maybe you don't even have the beads, you might Aegis, and they could potentially open up the door for one another by being both two big game-changing ultimates that you've got to use something to get away from.
I think you're kind of praying for the opposition to make a mistake. Nobody's going to accidentally, Aegis and beads. Really, the combination I'm looking for is the jungle solo again. Strip those beads. Either you're going to die to a Najah or you're going to die to a Batz, but at some point, you're going to need the beads. The ultimate, you're basically
sure, but also
saving
the Aegis
Aegis.
for the Poseidon I guess is what I was talking about.
Exactly. Your Aegis is almost exclusively for the Poseidon, so you've got to be very aware of the beads after the fact, and because Cope and Zearoe are going to be kind of playing around with that cooldown and making sure, kind of like double Odin. We have 2 Odins and you have 1 Phantom. Pick and choose which ring you're going to die to. Either you die to Cope or you die to Zearoe, because sops, again, very similar to what we saw in the late game last time around, can be negated relatively easily.
That's right. Could make that path a little bit easier down the road. We'll have to see if sops can put on the same kind of performance Sheento did, as Sheento switches gears almost entirely over here to the Muzen Cobb now in the middle lane. Somebody could still have some pressure in that mid lane matchup, but will likely be filling, or largely be filling, an almost entirely different role here for this team. but one who can certainly still potentially bully sops if he's given some room to operate. As Panitom goes in aggressively, sops has been stunned, does get the Kraken out, but it's just too late. First blood for Sanguine.
Easy right there. Panitom just goes in, gets a little bit of a stun, and that's exactly, I asked for it last game, and I'm getting it now. Level 6, you can even go earlier than that on the Spider, but right now, just early and often. That's what I want to see out of Panitom. Just start annoying people.
Yeah, I don't know what sops did to these guys either, but they've clearly made him a target here in this game, whether it's last game on the Terra or even this game on the Poseidon. He had the right idea trying to drop the Kraken and create some space. It just wasn't there in time. Panitom gets out cleanly too, able to use the ultimate for the disengage, because he doesn't have beads, Angus, anything like that. He's gone with Blink to enable him to be even more aggressive here in the early game, and it pays off.
Mid lane should be where the next grouping is, and it will be. Sheento's going to get aggressed on. There's the beads to the monkey, but the damage, good enough. Sops finds the answer for Team CryptiK.
Yeah, how do you like it, Sheento? As now we're all grouping up for you. Mineral gifts that one over to sops, I believe, as well, with the damage over the wall. Now the question becomes, can Ronngyu and Panitom lock down anyone? The answer, we find out very quickly, is no. And instead, Sanguine fall back.
Panitom took a little bit too direct of a route, but perhaps more importantly, activated Cocoon a little bit early. You really, if you activate that ability and don't get your 3 basics off, you don't get the stun. And so we see the Spider walk up and kind of grab 1 basic and immediately get knocked back thanks to the title search by sops. If Panitom comes from a more indirect angle, we might be able to see something there, but the approach was just off.
This already feels like good news, though, for CryptiK, doesn't it? Like, it's going to have to be someone other than Sheento, at least in the early to mid game is what it feels like they're trying to say, because he did kind of have a really good early game and then passed that baton over to Netrioid and Panitom once they got into that true late game to the tune of a quadra kill for Netrioid around that Titan area. So if you can cut out that whole early to mid game monster of Sheento, you never have that baton pass in the first place, might be the plan here from CryptiK.
Certainly one way to think about it, and I think that's what CryptiK are thinking for sure. Sanguine, on the other hand, are like, until I get my transcendence. Sheento is just down to kind of chill and wait and say, all right, yeah, sure, the early game might not be our thing, but check us out in the mid, baby.
Copebby has realized that he has quite a bit of company over here in the solo lane and plays it loose. Panitom has ditched this side of the map, though, at least for now, though he is kind of lurking. Maybe he wants to go take a look around this blue buff that's just spawning. He's waiting to see if Cope maybe sticks around too long in this engagement. He hasn't been able to find much of anything. Meanwhile, Cope is just fine in the 1v2 for now.
Najah kind of excels at a 1v2. Ring bounce is going to slow down multiple targets. You can use Sash to get away from one target and avoid some damage as well. And obviously, Ultimate will take you out of the team fight altogether. So there's a number of options for Najah to really deal with invaders on his side of the map. There's a lot of options for Najah to deal with Bellona in lane. Most notably, the ability to cancel out Bludgeon. So in lane, I'm not really concerned about Najah dying too much.
That was the right idea from Zearoe, but they just couldn't quite execute it. Netrioid in some trouble as well here in dual lane, but he avoids the attacks. Panitom hunts down Zearoe, so it ends up being the reverse course of what they wanted, and Sanguine find yet another kill.
Man, I know everybody's going to look at the kill that happened in the mid lane, but I am looking at the kill that didn't happen on the left side. Netrioid just walked away like it was a choreographed fight scene in a John Woo movie. Just, I'm going to move left, I'm going to move right, I'm going to move left, I'm going to move right. Nothing hit him. He just walked away. That's incredible. That's insane. He's still high off that that quadra kill that took the game, man. I mean, he's just playing real well today.
It's not the only kill that got away that impacted that fight, too. Zearoe was looking for Sheento with the Fear No Evil in the middle lane and couldn't lock him down. It was the right timing. Sheento's beads weren't up yet for another 15 or so seconds, I think, at that timing, and Zearoe couldn't quite keep him locked in, and then Sanguine turned on the gas and punished him on the back end, and now they slow down the farm of the CryptiK jungler and give Panitom an even easier early game. That hastened katana is now finished, and he's ready to rock.
Yeah, that's a big turnaround. That's a big, catalyst time for the Spider.
Yeah.
Right out of the gate, she's going to be strong, and she's going to be trouble to deal with. Then she gets level 2, and she has a stun and the heal, and that's trouble to deal with. And then Golden Blade allows her to kind of farm, who cares? But the hastened confirms that you're never escaping. As if the stun and the multiple slows were good enough, you're never escaping. And that right there And it's why I said I wasn't concerned about Naja dying.
He's able to get that heal up and get right on out of there as Jarcorrr has the pressure, but it hasn't yet amounted really to much other than just a little bit of bullying here and there in the solo lane. Cope's done a good job on this Naja. As Zearoe looked for Netrioid this time, he still has the ultimate available, even though he didn't have beads. So Netrioid was A-OK, and that's several gank attempts now from Zearoe that haven't quite hit Painter. Though Panitom wants Cope. That's a good sash, and even better ultimate onto the priority target.
Unlikely to be a kill. It's more a defensive ultimate than anything. Cope's still running away from the spider, and again, will find safety.
Makes his way out of there. Netrioid is under siege yet again, avoids the airstrike, and responds with the Valkyrie's discretion, but can't find the fourth shot, and that means Diesel takes him down in the 1v1, sends Netrioid back to base.
Oh no! I thought Netrioid had that. He misses the last shot. Easy for Diesel. Man, just the cleanup kill. That did not go the way I expected it.
No, not at all. And really, it was fortunate Netrioid even made it to that point where he was shooting for the shots from the Valkyrie's discretion, but he would have needed those to hit if he wanted to win that fight. A great shot from Diesel, because it was a narrow window. Those Freya autos were on their way, and he cleans up.
If Netrioid just leaves, he lives. But if he hits all 4 shots, he gets the kill. Oh man, so many ifs.
Panitom has been slowed here by Cope. Goes up to the ult to try and slow Cope down
it.
in return. But Cope has friends. Sash off the mark, so Zearoe can't lock down Panitom, and that's all she wrote, at least for that skirmish. But maybe not for the red buff. Diesel and Mineral have other ideas. Sheento's on his way to put the numbers in his favor, and Diesel might be in some trouble.
A little bit of slow for the mid lane Hunter, and Diesel is able to activate the Aegis, so no harm. Many harm. Red buff still. But no foul, as he's able to survive. Cope now turning things around, and Jarcorrr is the one that's got to worry about being alive.
Yeah, it's a bit of a red buff for the boys as Cope dives underneath the tier 1. He might find out that he's miscalculated as Panitom is here, where he's been all map, putting some extra pressure here on this solo lane, and Cope, baby, takes a spill. Another kill. That's 3-0-0 for this Arachne.
But here comes Zearoe and looking to clean up Jarcorrr. 1 shot, 2 shot. Won't be able to find the third. Arachne, there's the slow. The stun will come next, but a jump from Zearoe puts him safe and sound. No matter, and he's gone!
And when Panitom's able to be on those webs, he covers so much extra ground, so he recognized with those dragging behind Zearoe, he could make that distance up even under the tower. 4-0-0 now for the Arachne. I mean, last time it was Sheento, and now it's Panitom.
Yeah, big boy plays here on the other side of things. Sanguine still continuing to push as Cope plays a little bit aggressively, but Panitom 4-0-0. I mean, this is the Arachne start that you get in your ranked games, and you F6 at 11. Now, I don't know if Team CryptiK are going to be surrendering anytime soon. That's probably the wrong look, as they're only down 1,000. But Panitom, this is that spiral out of control. This is really where things get scary, and it's at 1360 right now. Both gold and experience were actually even. That was kind of weird, but expect that to keep going if Panitom continues to do whatever he wants, because here he is again, just, hey, mind if I get your ultimate, Diesel, real quick?
Opposite side of the map, by the way.
Arachne.
Easy for Panitom as he bullies just about everywhere. Jarcorrr, now with a bit of a level lead, is able to hang around the jungle, but can't quite threaten the blue buff, so he'll fall back. And the thing is, there's plenty of other things in this game that are scary for CryptiK. I mean, a Muzen Cobb full build, a Stinger will more than half health you. Netrioid late game as well. So even though they got to worry about Panitom, there's plenty of other scary things there too they haven't even dealt with yet.
And see, that's the thing, is that Panitom is going to be the just destructor.
Oh, yeah.
Nice, there it is. Yeah. We were all kind of like waiting.
Like, oh, please, yeah.
Panitom will be the Earl of the early game, and then that'll be hanging it off to the AMC. Sheento will be the monarch of the mid game, and then Netrioid will be the lord of the late game and grab his quadra kills and take the victory and do whatever the hell he wants. So Sanguine have this sort of draft set up for each individual to kind of carry and then hand the baton, as you say, and it's a wonderful look. I think that Sanguine kind of succeeded off of a similar composition in game 1, and this is more true to form.
Man, can't believe CryptiK didn't have their mental timer ready for a solo Pyromancer kill from the Arachne there as Panitom kind of gets it done. I mean, it's just hard when Arachne gets this far ahead. There's just no way to be everywhere and slow this kind of thing down. He got some help there from Ronngyu in the back end, but all the damage was Arachne, and he probably could have done it on his own anyway. And now they consider the Gold Fury, but with CryptiK here in full force, it'd be very difficult to take that one, so they have to fall back.
Like this choice from CryptiK, real intelligent, making sure to prioritize those the vision camp there on the left side. They know that Sanguine have the ability to take down objectives real fast. Shout out to the Pyromancer, who I called the Pestomancer earlier.
Yeah,
before.
I heard that, and I just assumed maybe it was like a hunger thing.
I was a little hungry.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the Pestomancer.
That's not a bad name. I mean, they called the fire elementals bananas, right? For a while.
Yeah.
So
I
maybe
remember
calling those right side buffs food is that's just par for the course.
Man, I remember the bananas. I called them gremlins for a while. I called them gremlins for a while.
They
but
looked more like gremlins than bananas.
yeah,
so.
no, I remember it was it was Zearoes. It was
Right.
Zearoes and Dignitas were like, I remember them just saying banana, 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 and I was like, what play is that? Thinking it was some advanced
Right, like a-
when I say banana, collapse on the blue camp, and they're like, no, that's the fire alleys. I'm like, but they don't look like bananas, and Zearoe goes, so what? And I just go, all right, that sounds good. They're bananas.
Hey, man, we don't argue. If they're going to come up with a name for them, so we don't have to say fire elementals every time. Hey, I'll take it. As
The little guy.
yeah, that's long ago, back in season 4, right, when we had to worry about
Was
those.
that 4? That was 4.
Yeah, I think they went away in 5, right?
Yeah, they were replaced with the portal.
That's right, the Portal Demon. Oh,
The
yeah.
Portal
That
Demon.
wasn't even that long ago. How did I forget that? Yeah.
Portal Demon, and it was actually interesting if you want some behind the scenes. But first,
Unfortunate.
Zearoe is gonna die.
Yeah, Zearoe has realized he's going to jump over the wall, and then, yeah, that's going to happen. Yeah, Jarcorr's waiting on him. And Cope might be in trouble, too, even with the heal. He did have the ultimate. That was great to snap towards Panitom and get some good damage, but last time this wasn't enough to save him. Under the Tier 2 tower, though, it's a different story.
Why didn't Cope say anything? Hey, Zearoe, don't jump there. You're gonna die. Like, what? Instead, he was like, hey, pranked you, bud. Like, not a good play there from Cope.
Yeah, unfortunately, Zearoe didn't have a ton of options. Maybe that's the problem.
Well, we've all been there. Where you're standing against the wall, you're slamming your jump.
Yeah, that's
you're
right.
like, where's the spot? Oh, I'm over the wall. And then Bellona just comes and goes, squish.
She just kind of stuffs him as Sops body blocked, can't even get into range to stop the Gold Fury, and Sanguine grab yet another objective. And now Sops might be in trouble, even with Mineral here, or maybe not. Sheento's the one drowning under all the water coming out from Sops. Netrioid goes up though and punishes him summarily. Nice response from the Valkyrie's discretion.
Worth it. Sanguine lose 2 for the Gold Fury, which is normally not worth it, but the fact that they got Sops after the fact as well, it's a Gold Fury and a kill. I'll go for it. A nice lead so far for Sanguine. Nice looks there around the objective.
The one you really want to kill, I feel like, is Panitom. It's Arachne. As a perfect banish comes out. That's insane timing,
Yeah.
so he doesn't actually get followed up on during the Fear No Evil. They can't threaten the Tier 2, Tier 1 still up, but Panitom's nearby, sends in the wave, and so Team CryptiK will fall back to the Tier 1.
Got him. Team CryptiK play a good job there, and they make the play that they need to make. I really enjoy that they didn't back off. I think a number of teams would have backed off. And the fact that Team CryptiK kind of stay true to what they're looking for and get that Tier 1 tower is very important.
You know, there's a nice clip out there of me and Unexceptional, if you remember him from the caster, Patrick Schoaf, attacking a Tier 2 tower for a long time while the Tier 1 is still up. Just going for it.
Oh, I believe that.
And the thing is, it says immune a lot of times.
It's easy,
Every
though.
single time that you do it.
It's so easy, man. Jarcorrr gonna get beat up here.
This might also be easy, huh? As he gets silenced by Mineral. Finds a nice disarm. But a great ult-in from Cope catches Panitom. He's gonna come right back down the Dharmic pillars as well. He's still standing tall though as Sheento finds Zearoe, and Panitom can just turn around.
Looking at some of the damage dealers, Copebby now gonna get aggressed on it. He's got some defense.
How does Sheento live?
I have no idea, but he's gonna do it. And trouble for Sops as Jarcorrr underneath the tower, under the water, goes for it. Diesel finds the shot. It's a 1 for 2.
That's critical that he weaves in an auto and takes down the solo laner to at least get something back, as he said, in a 1 for 2 trade. Panitom's still lurking though, so I don't know how far forward CryptiK can push without having to worry about spiders creeping for him. Sanguine will just come settle for the Pyromancer.
And Netrioid and Sheento just going to go for it. Another tiny amount into the bank account. That's the look there. Sanguine will have about 4K above the opposition. And I like the aggression, again, that we're seeing out of Sanguine, just repeatedly going in for the play time and time again. And that's what's allowing them to not just be successful, but stay successful. If you get 1,000 or 2,000 gold and then sit down, well, cool. You're giving your opponent an opportunity to come back in. But that's what Sanguine isn't doing. They're not allowing their opposition to really get comfortable. They're just, all right, yeah, you won the left side. You got a tier 1. Good for you. We're going to beat you up, take a tier 1 on the right side, get the Pyromancer, take another tower, take another tower. Like, they're just going to keep compounding.
Yeah.
And that keeps CryptiK out of the conversation.
And they're able to do all that compounding with... You're closer than me. Can you read what Freya's player damage is down there?
Netrioid?
Or, yeah, 3,500, right?
Yeah.
I mean, really, Netrioid's not even been that big of a factor yet in these team fights. He's way down there at the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just... It's like I said earlier when Panitom was kind of running the table, is that there's other areas that you have to worry about. There's a baton pass that's on its way,
Yep.
and Netrioid has made it all the way there, and he's warmed up, he's got the headband on, he's ready to take his lap, because he has had to do nothing so far this game except farm.
Exactly, and Sheento also can really start to do some damage as well as it comes to the late game. You can see the itemization, more mid-game focus with the Crusher and the Odibo, but the late game will certainly still be a threat.
As you highlighted earlier, with that Transcendence finished and ready to go, Sheento is always someone that they have to worry about on the side of Team CryptiK too. For the most part, they've done a good job of bringing him low in fights early at the very least, since he is the Muzen Cobb. But we saw him pull the Houdini last time. He's been kind of wiggling his way out of there, getting some help from the rest of his team.
It's been a little bit tough, but his ability to escape has been really important. You mentioned the team. Oh, that's no. Diesel dashes. Diesel's forced into the ultimate. As soon as Sanguine saw that dash, they went, ooh.
Fear No Evil comes out as well. Sops wants to make Netrioid the target, but he's just looking for damage. Immediately gets sashed, taken up into the air. Dharmic Pillars, if this isn't enough, is waiting for him, and Sops gets the kill. That was clean from CryptiK to respond to the pressure from Panitom and Netrioid. All it costs him is Diesel's ultimate, Aegis, and Purification Beams.
Also, Mineral's ultimate, Zero's ultimate, and Cope's ultimate.
Yeah.
That's a big investment. That feels like buying a car wash for $1 billion. I don't know about all that. It's a little bit rough.
That car's clean, though, as Cope moves down the middle lane. Ronngyu is able to find some roots, too, but there might not be much action here yet. Sanguine aren't posturing like they want to jump in, especially not without their Freya. Might as well wait till she's back up.
We're talking about this baton pass. I think it's time for Netrioid to grab it.
Yeah.
Just take it,
I
dude.
agree.
Stop, like, Sanguine now have kind of reached this lull that I was commending them for not getting into, and now CryptiK kind of have the opportunity. All right, look, we can breathe. We're going to look for some farm. Maybe even get a Gold Fury. They're getting the Pyromancer every 5 minutes or whatever. Let's go to the other side of it. Now you're letting Team CryptiK think, because that's also a thought process. We see it in traditional sports. You see it a lot in American football, where they go to no huddle offense because they don't want the opponent to be able to think and get set up. And Sanguine need to keep that pressure.
Maybe this is the opportunity. They're around the Primal Fury now, and Team CryptiK are here to play defense. They'd love to try and force them into a bad fight. But without Panitom, maybe that's unlikely. He's over by the speed buff, the most important buff on the map if you're a jungler, and has to grab that one for himself. Copebby, though, does have Sheento kind of zoned away from the rest of the fight. Panitom's got to be there, try and be backup for him instead. And he does fight with stun, but it's not that easy to kill the solo Naja.
Meanwhile, Team CryptiK are split up, and this is exactly when Panitom wants to go to work. Mineral is going to be in trouble, and there's a Kraken. Ultimate, Aegis, everybody's safe.
Panitom uses the ult to at least not get knocked up. Still takes the damage, but just the landing is enough to remove Zearoe from the equation. And now this is where Sheento shines. Damage from a distance all rings in. He eventually, though, is going to have to try and get some damage onto Cope, as unfortunately they end up losing Netrioid, but Mineral falls in exchange. It's 3 for 1, and Sanguine keep right on running.
Cope had a great team fight there. Ring bounce bounced across the entire team, brought a lot of protections down, slowed a whole lot of folks, and ultimately kills Netrioid. But after the fact, Sanguine still holding their banner high. Sanguine are able to get the Primal Fury, and here's the fight.
Oh, poor Sops. Cope was too busy zoning to even worry about keeping Sops alive, and it means he ends up falling too. Deicide comes through as Sanguine win yet another fight, and just when we were saying we wanted Sanguine to go back to stepping on the gas, they absolutely do it and take CryptiK, to the crypt. Sure. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm with it. No, that was exactly. I mean, this is Sanguine have been playing this game exactly how I would want them to if I was coaching them. I think they're playing high tempo. As I said, I brought up the idea of
they're waiting. That's cool.
Yeah, they're gonna wait for Netrioid in 3, 2, 1. There's the final hit. Fire Giant goes down. They want to stay aggressive because again, it's not letting CryptiK in. When you, and think back to your own games at home, folks, you get involved in a team fight, and you're fighting, and then you're fighting, and you're fighting, and you're fighting, and all of a sudden it's 17 minutes and you're level 12, and you're like, what happened?
Yeah.
And it's just because you've been responding to the opponent. Every time the opponent makes a move, you have to respond, and you have to respond, you have to respond, and you start getting taken away from the game. Now, Team CryptiK have done a great job of staying relevant as far as experience is concerned, but they haven't been able to find opportunities, and that's really what you're looking at this level of play. There just isn't a world for Team CryptiK to look for a Gold Fury, to look for a team fight, to look for a pick, because they're constantly responding to what Sanguine has offered.
And is there enough itemization for you into this composition to try and slow it down anyway? I mean, there's just so much attack speed from Sanguine. I'll talk about it later, though, with Sops in a whole world of trouble. Dharma Pillars does a good job, and the Fear No Evil, all to try and keep Sops alive. And the Kraken, he baits it all out, and Sops dies anyway. What a play.
Sops even held on to that, and it didn't matter. Sheento on the better side of a double kill as a Stinger drops and gets picked up one more time.
Well, as my good friend Holy coined, the threat of activation was too strong from the Arachne up on the webs, and so they just kept dropping ultimates to try and keep them alive.
Yeah.
It just wasn't enough. Now, with only 2 members still standing, they can threaten the mid-Phoenix as well, and in fact, they might even
push it to the limit. Go
Zearoe
for
and
it.
Cope are both here, but a good banish lands. Cope has to go all the way back to the fountain, but an Eagles rally means there's just too many protections. 5 members strong. The Titan can't handle it. Sanguine come in and 2-0 CryptiK.
Oh my goodness.
Too late now.
Yeah, you're too late to pause, homie. You needed to think about that earlier. Sanguine take this one in game 2. And again, this was just up and down.
Yeah.
Played fantastic. If I coached a team, this is what I would have said. There were a number of mistakes across the way, but the gameplay was just straight up clean.
And there was a small lull there in the middle, but it ended up working in Sanguine's favor. As soon as they went back to pulling that Primal Fury, they were able to win a big fight off it. And this is what's scary about this Sanguine team. You can see Sheento do it for them in game 1, and then Panitom do it for them in game 2, or Netrioid comes in when you need. It's a multi-headed snake, man.
Multiple different options, but the same result, the win.
They grab the win. Let's get it back over to the desk, though. I'm going to let those guys break it down.
Sanguine win 2-0 and make it look pretty easy in game 2 as well. Remember, game 1 was long, but they were able to take an early lead and it just took them a bit to close it out. This one, no such issue.
Definitely not. Even though they didn't have the Poseidon yet again, Sops, you can tell, was struggling against Panitom on the Arachne. The no boots build from him was certainly working out, and whenever you go for this kind of an build, trying to power curve into that mid game and get uninterrupted, you go 7-0-8 the way he did.
Impressive stuff from Panitom and the rest of Sanguine. I mean, this team continues to just look really, really solid. I mean, the game is fairly close. Not that long ago, Totally, 22 minutes or so, they start fighting around Gold Fury, and Sanguine just get the Deicide on CryptiK, walk on over to Fire Giant, wait until it gets enhanced, finish it off for all 5 members, and then on their first fight after the fact, end the game.
It was focusing out Sops after the Fire Giant. The 3-for-1 at the Gold Fury was a nice way to start things off. Yeah, they lose the Primal Fury afterwards, but they ended up getting the Deicide, which opened that door for that Fire Giant. And Sheento, I think, had a great game on this Muzen Cup, so it makes a little bit of sense as to why they even banded away. Sops couldn't keep up with the early game clear from that Muzen Cup with all this pressure from the Blink Arachne.
Panitom was just all over the place, man. This Arachne pick is one that he's played a lot of recently and has been really, really difficult to stop. This is the one where Cope kind of leads Jarcorrr straight to Zearoe as he's jumping over the wall. 7-0 for Panitom. Sheento has another great game at 5-2. Another great game for Ronngyu as well, 1-0-11. Sanguine is definitively the second best team in North American SML. It's just not close. It really isn't.
I agree. I think that Armada on their best day will beat Sanguine on their best day, but
Agreed.
I think that it's easier for Armada to slip occasionally. So I think Sanguine has a good shot about being the #1 North American minor league team.
Yeah, I mean, Armada didn't look flawless today, and that's for sure. They were a couple hundred HP from losing a game to Space Station Gold on their Titan, so I mean, not the best performance today for Armada. On the other hand, Sanguine, I think, really clean it up in Game 2 and look really solid. And they're doing it with very similar picks, which can be a positive and can be a negative. Can be a bit scary when it's like, okay, well, what happens when we take Jarcorrr off Bellona and Panitom off Arachne? It's kind of a question mark, but you also at least are making teams respect those picks.
It's also against a team that's experimenting. CryptiK trying to figure things out in the future where Cope's going solo, Zero's going in the jungle. I don't think that this is CryptiK at 100% health. I think that you give CryptiK a couple of weeks and we might see different results, but Sanguine, very consistent. You can tell that they have so much synergy between all of these players. It's very hard to really isolate and pick anyone off.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a unit together, and I think that that's what really separates these teams. We talk about it in Flashpoint in Europe all the time, how they work together better as a unit. Maybe don't have the individual talent that other teams do. Not to say that they aren't good players, but they don't have those stars. That is a good identity for Sanguine, because eventually I think when you're playing this well, stars develop. I mean, guys like Sheento continue to get more and more headlines and play better and better because his team is there to set him up. You can grow a star. I think it's a little bit more difficult to get that teamwork down.
That's right. You should all be giving themselves a pat in the back after that performance, climbing further in the standings.
Well, let's check a look at those standings right now and see exactly where Sanguine are in comparison to Armada. Down a couple games, of course. 8-1 for Armada, 6-3 though for Sanguine. I believe if they are to win next week and CryptiK loses, that should, in my mind, lock them in for the midseason invitational. Armada already guaranteed. It's just a matter of seeding for them on where they could potentially end up at the MSI, but Sanguine looking really likely to take a spot as well.
Yeah, CryptiK definitely need to figure things out if they want to secure that #2 spot for the MSI. Space Station Gold, unfortunately, are out of it, but they have shown some good games throughout the split. They just need to figure out what's going to work for them long-term and make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, Space Station Gold win a couple weeks ago up against Armada, and then today end up almost winning a game again with a sub in there for Matty Pocket. So it's going pretty well for Space Station Gold, all things considered, when you have a 1-8 team. But that's the breaks, I suppose, for Space Station Gold. By the way, hope you guys are all caught up with everything that's going on in SMITE at home. We got the new Battle for Olympus skins in the game. By the way, if you haven't been following the SMITE game Twitter, they've been teasing skins for tomorrow's patch note show all day. It has been absurd. We're talking USA Poseidon, Football Vamana. I mean, all these incredible skins. I can't wait to see them all in action. That's going to be tomorrow on Patch Notes, so make sure you check that out. We'll also have an Esports Weekly for you tomorrow at 4 p.m. or whenever Patch Notes ends, so make sure you tune in for that. And make sure you're getting ready for HRX. That's coming up sooner than you think. It's coming in November. HighResExpo.com is a place to get the tickets. Totally, did you hear that John Finch, like the caster that we have here at Skillshot?
Yeah, the one and only.
Right. So John Finch, for everyone who buys a Hi-Res Expo ticket, is going to shine your shoes.
Is that what he said?
That's what he said, man. He said it.
Well then.
Like right before that game.
I heard that you're going to take a drink with everyone
Yeah,
there?
so I'm going to have a water bottle, and
Sure.
you're going to come up to me, and I'll shake your hand, and I'll take a drink from my water bottle. I'm going to be dummy hydrated the entire event.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be so hydrated the entire time. It's going to be really good. Hope to see you guys there again, highresexpo.com, in order to get those tickets. Thanks so much for watching our SMITE Minor League here today. Again, patch notes tomorrow, as well as that Esports Weekly right afterwards. So make sure you clear your calendars. It's going to be a big Wednesday for us here at Skillshot. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
The SMITE Minor League, brought to you by Hi-Res Studios, INAP, Respawn, Steel Series, Alienware, Skillshot.
disbelief and make me forget my memories. Rent a car you can't afford, put on a song that we both know, let your hair out in the wind, put the pedal to the floor, flame your lighter, take a smoke, put your broken rip-off wafers on. Doesn't matter if the sun goes down, we'll still be up, don't care about the place we found. We'll still be up, we're in this together, we both fall down. Doesn't matter if the sun goes up, 'cause we will still be high when the lights out. We can pretend the time is still, stay in the day.